Well, hello there. This is T of Bed Crime Stories. Let me know if anybody's out there and if you can hear me. I just got home from the courthouse. I opted not to stay and wait for jury deliberations because I don't know how long it's going to go. And I've been up since 2 a.m., so I'm a little too tired to just hang out there, although it would have been fun because Nate Eaton of East Idaho News is going to hang out there and wait to see if the jury comes back with a verdict today. The trial ended, from what I could tell. Let's see, I looked at the clock. It was about 3:05. Hi, Cherie. Yeah, I thought I'd just go on here while it's all fresh in my mind. Hello from Austin. Nice to see you. Oh, you guys, I'm just so tired. It's just been crazy. A lot of people showed up at the courthouse today. It was the big day. It was going to be the closing arguments, so twice as many people showed up. Um, we all were kind of vying for our spots, making sure we would get into the courtroom itself. I got there probably around 6:30 a.m., and there were already 24 people ahead of me. And so, hi Urso Suprusov. I've seen your name before. I just don't know how to pronounce it. Hi Rosalie. Yes, so let me tell you some of what went on there. So there were more people. There was a lot of confusion about where we were supposed to sit. There was a lot of upset because the rules changed once again. And just because you were in the first part of the morning, you didn't get to go back to your seat that you were in. And there were so many people waiting to get in the courthouse, or the courtroom rather, who didn't get in, that they then walked over to our seats once we were inside the courtroom. And so then when jury let out and when we went back in for the second half of the day, they had priority. So they got in ahead of us and they didn't get there as early as we did. So that strategy worked really well for them because the only thing they missed in the morning were the jury instructions. Those went on for quite some time. And then we all, left. They had lunch and then we came back in and the state went right into the closing arguments. So let me see what I wrote in my notes. I'm going to try to be organized, but I'm just going to go as I was taking notes here. So Rex Connor was there. He is Lori. Yes, hopefully there will be justice. I definitely have my fingers crossed. I feel like these people, although it's very hard to know what the jurors are thinking because they don't have all the backstory. So it's almost impossible to put yourself in their shoes, assuming they don't know about the other deaths. To me, it's like a no-brainer that she's guilty. And there's a lot of evidence that I think would point to that. But, we don't know what they're thinking. And a bunch of them did not take notes during the course, at least while I was in the courtroom, ever on the 3 days I attended. Let me take a sip of soda here. So let me tell you who was there from the family. Rex Connor was there with his two daughters. He is Lori's uncle, so that is her mother's brother, and he's been pretty vocal. He has a channel called Silver Linings on YouTube with Lori's brother Adam, the guy who testified. Let's see, Jerry Vallow, I believe is his name. That is Charles Vallow's brother was there. And there were, Kay Woodcock was there. And I believe she has a sister as well. And the sister was there. Now, let's see, Colby Ryan showed up with his wife. And Colby is very tall, very lean, very good looking. I mean, I hate to say that, but he's good looking kid, young man, I should say. So he was there with his wife. Trying to think who else showed up. Megan Connor was there as well. And Colby was very interesting because when he was in the courtroom, he was leaning forward in his chair in the front row where the family sits, and he had his eyes fixed on his mother, and it was like he was trying to almost like burn into her back to get her to turn around, I think, because he just kept looking her way. And I don't know how much she looked at him because I couldn't tell when she turned her head. I was like literally like right behind her, 2 rows behind. So I couldn't see if she was just turning right to look at the jury or if she turned to look at Colby. But he definitely was just staring her way the whole time. He looked very upset, not in terms of tears, but you could just tell deep emotional frustration, I think, at her lies. And just you could just tell he was just like wanting her to come clean, tell the truth, quit throwing the victims under the bus, quit lying about Charles, which of course she won't do. She was in there smiling this morning, laughing. She sits with her private investigator. He's the guy to her left, and they seem to be very cozy together. She's always leaning quite close to him. He's leaning close to her. Her lawyers are behind. There are 2 lawyers back there. And somebody told me that the female lawyer, like Lori, refuses to talk to her female lawyer. She only talks to the male lawyer. I don't know if that's true. I really couldn't tell. How did the jury feel? You know what? It was impossible to tell. The jury, they just did not react. They barely changed their posture. Their facial expressions really didn't give too much away, although I thought I saw maybe 2 of them looking like when Lori got up to talk, like, "Oh, yeah, lady, okay, here you come. What are you gonna say now?" Like, they were sort of, like, looking at her a little bit disgusted, I thought. That was my interpretation. I personally think Trina's closing was wonderful. I mean, she went through everything that was on the jury instructions to say, why you need to go with the guilty verdict. And I thought it was really well organized. Some of the people in the jury were saying, or not in the jury, in the gallery were saying they thought that she was talking too long and they were worried about the jurors' attention span, because it's late in the afternoon, people are tired, it's after lunch. But I saw them being very invested. They were very invested this morning, looking at the jury instructions, reading them along with Trina Kay. They seemed very invested when she was talking. They also, they didn't really look at Lori. They looked straight at her when she was talking. I saw Lori shake her head a bunch of times, trying to say, like, no to the jury, like, no, that didn't happen. But I also saw like Kay Woodcock also shaking her head no when Lori was up there giving her closing statements, which were just rife with lies, of course, and oh, Tylee came out to protect me, and so much of the evidence, like the way Trina laid it all out, if you thought through it, it didn't make sense what Lori was saying. So let me see here. Oh, Brandon Boudreau was there this morning as well with his wife. I don't know if he was there in the afternoon. I couldn't see over there. Let me see here. Lori made a really big deal about that exhibit, which I believe is her first interview with the police in Chandler. And the state only used portions of that to share with during the trial. And Lori said that they had entered it into evidence as the entire interview. And so she told the jurors, you should watch that entire video, that entire interview before you do your deliberations. Somehow she thinks whatever they see in that interview is going to help her case. I don't know if that will. I don't think so. I'm feeling confident that this jury is going to find her guilty. But again, I could be warped because I know what I know about the other crimes and they don't. So it's hard to say. Let's see, Journeys, you said, well, Lori should show it all, saying, I hate Charles. Yes. There's a couple of things that I think really should show it all. I have so many notes here. Let me see. Um, well, the first thing is that those 12 minutes when Charles made it over to her house, this crime went down, I believe, in 12 minutes and Lori was there for those 12 minutes because she didn't take off with Charles' phone and his rental vehicle until 12 minutes after he showed up. And of course, he stopped replying to text messages from Adam. So the crime happened very quickly. I don't think he had much time inside that house. Some people were saying that they think maybe Lori opened the door and somehow grabbed his phone out of his hand, and that's how she got the phone. I sort of felt like she might have been able to coax him inside, but I think the phone thing maybe makes more sense because he knew, Adam warned him that Lori and Alex were planning something. And so he should have known based on her past threats and also knowing that Alex attacked Joe Ryan with the taser, and there's a lot of suspicion about Alex maybe doing Joe Ryan in, allegedly. So I don't think he would. People think maybe Charles knew that Joe Ryan was killed, if he was killed, because of what he told the police in the body cam footage, where we see him saying that Lori said, and I can murder you too, TOO. And then Charles kind of caught himself and changed what he was talking about. A lot of people, well, I shouldn't say a lot of people, Joe Ryan's sister, Annie Cushing, thinks that they all knew that Joe Ryan was murdered allegedly by Lori and Alex. And so Charles should have known to be afraid to go in that house. So yeah, the 12 minutes is really telling. And then she takes off in his vehicle with JJ, with his phone. The fact that Alex shot Charles a second time after shooting him through the heart, I mean, smack through the chest, right where the heart is. And they showed an image of that today. And I was thinking that when he got shot in the heart, that it would have been just like torn apart and shredded. All you saw were like red marks where that bullet went through the chest, and then one went through lower left abdomen. I think it was lower left abdomen, and then it came out the shoulder, and then it hit the floor. So you don't, and the prosecutor, if you were watching, you would see that she said Charles got shot through the heart. The evidence to the body, the injuries to his body show that he fell down to his knees. That's where he got the scrapes on his knees. And then, he would have fallen to the floor. And of course, his left hand had blood on it, and he's left-handed. So he probably took that hand and put it up to his chest. He was probably absolutely shocked. He had anywhere from a couple seconds to 2 minutes before he would have died. And then when he was flat on the floor, they put the other bullet in. And so he could have been alive if they did it within the first 2 minutes. It's possible he could have been aware that they were going to do another shot. So I think that second shot should tell the jurors, this is overkill. This is more than self-defense. This is taking a lethal weapon to a man who presumably did not show up at the house with a baseball bat in his hand. Their story, Lori's story, is that the baseball bat was already there with Tylee, and Tylee brought it out to defend her. And I think that bat was placed there as part of their staging. And I think they thought, well, since he was a semi-pro baseball player, it would make sense that they would feel like their lives were threatened if he had that baseball bat in his hand. But of course, they put the baseball bat in his right hand, and he's left-handed, and there's further evidence of the left-handedness because that's where the blood is, where he probably put his hand up to his heart, sort of supporting the notion that if he was holding the bat, it would have been in his left hand. And also, Alex would have been the one on the floor, either dead or with a massive head injury. And it would have been Charles legitimately, defending himself. Yes, stippling from the gunshot residue, yes. And they did show an image of that. There were 3 photos of Charles today. One of him flat on the ground. It was pretty far away, though. It wasn't the up close one that they showed last week. So you really couldn't see a whole lot. And then they showed the one of the wounds on his stomach and his chest. And that was pretty up close. And then they showed one of his back. And you could see, I think it was, what's the other? Gosh, I should look through my notes. Stippling, and also the mottled blood, which would have, shown that he was laying there longer. Remember, Alex told the police that he'd shot Charles about 20 minutes before the police arrived. Hello, Colleen. Welcome. So he lied about the time. What's so baffling to me is, why didn't the Chandler police do a background check on Alex? Because if they'd done that, they would have seen that he was convicted for tasering Joe Ryan. And maybe if they'd even gone beyond that, they would have seen that Joe Ryan ended up dead. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand why Alex's story was so lame. All he says, when they say, well, what was the fight about? What happened here? He's like, I don't know. And somebody was saying that maybe it was adrenaline that was sort of preventing him from thinking straight, that he couldn't come up with anything better in that moment. But of course, his brother, Adam, has said that the car accident that he was in when I think he was 18 left him with, like, he stopped maturing at that point. And I think he was 18 years old. So he wasn't really a fully developed adult. He wasn't really all there. He was doing things as an adult that, much younger people do. And I think that's what made him so pliable, with Lori basically manipulating him, feeding him like, you're going to have an important mission. And this is your mission. So this is why you should be helping us. You're part of our crew here. And this is your job. You're taking this upon yourself. He was very easily led. Tunnel vision with only sight for one focused individual. I'm so tired. Urso, can you explain that a little bit more? You mean they were Chandler? Yeah. I feel like they were lazy almost. Like, they're like, do we really have time to investigate this? All 3 of them, Lori, Tylee, and Alex, were they didn't tell the complete stories that were identical, but maybe they thought they were close enough that they were like, well, we've got the 3 people here, maybe we just believe them and we don't take this much farther. Why didn't they take Alex's phone in and extract its data? They treated Charles like the perpetrator. They got a hold of his phone when Alex is the one who shot the weapon. It's like, why didn't they? His story was so lame too. Just nothing was making sense. And then by the second day of the investigation, they knew that the timeline that Alex had told them, that the crime happened 20 minutes earlier before the police arrived, was totally not true. So you think at that point they really would have gone into overdrive. Yes, Charles was very smart, man. He acted so quickly too. And it wasn't easy because she'd gone in there and changed the password. I don't know if you guys have heard that reporting, or there's like 3 phone calls where he's talking to the life insurance company, and he can't even get into his account because she changed the passwords and everything. Yes, he trusted Kay to be generous and watch over her beloved JJ. I mean, it was so clear how much Kay just adored JJ. I think it was a no-brainer to leave it to her. And I think, I don't think he had a lot of time to think about it. He had to maybe move quickly in a way because he just wanted to make sure that Lori was off of that document and somebody he trusted in there. So I don't know if he just automatically put the money to Kay and didn't think further about, well, maybe I should divvy it up this way or that way, because I'm not sure how much of that money his 2 sons received, if any. I think they have received some, because he does still have 2 sons that he left behind. One son is adopted, from what I understand, and one is a biological child. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I think it is. In a way, I didn't cover this crime when it first happened because it was just so horrific to me. And I didn't understand how much the Mormon church was going to factor into it. And so I was almost like afraid to try to take it on because it was so big and so convoluted. So I'm sort of having to play a little bit of catch up now, because I didn't go to Chad's trial or Lori's trial. And some of the people who were in the gallery were at those trials. So there was a woman there as well who was a neighbor of Lori's. I think, I don't know if it was in Queen Creek. I think it must have been in Queen Creek. And she knew Lori for about 10 years. And she was telling people that Lori was just a delightful neighbor. She was fun. Just the Lori that we see, just the facade, the outside, the fun Lori who could fool people. I sort of think of Lori Vallow as a bit of a Ted Bundy type, where she can be incredibly charming, and you don't know that inside there's an ice cold psychopath killer who has no feelings. I mean, if that woman had feelings, she wouldn't be able to say Tylee and JJ's names without getting emotional. And I thought that was funny too, because in her opening, she was pretending to cry. In her closing, I didn't detect emotion. I couldn't see her face though. And to be honest, the acoustics in that courtroom were not great. It was hard to hear people. Oh, she did split it with Charles' sons? Oh, that's good. Yeah, because they're like pretty young. They're not, I'm sure they could definitely use the help. And of course, JJ's not here to take care of anymore, which, it's just devastating. When I look at Kay, I just feel like weeping. She she's so strong, but I look at her and Colby too. You just want to like bawl your eyes out because these people, Colby lost his entire family. Kay lost her brother and her precious JJ. Um, and just their lives have been so affected by this, forever affected. And then the trauma of these trials. And I'm sure Kay is nervous. I mean, she wants to make sure it will be horrible if they don't find her guilty. Can you imagine if they have a hung jury or something? It'd just be just horrible. I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say they're going to find her guilty. I don't think it's going to take them a whole lot of time. To me, this, even if they don't know about those previous crimes, knowing that Lori never dialed 911, instead she drove around, for getting food for JJ, and she goes to the Walgreens. And by the way, she walked into that Walgreens wearing shoes. She had shoes on her feet. So those flip-flops that she bought, people think that she bought those because her own shoes probably had blood on them, because there had to have been a lot more blood in the house than what the police saw when they arrived. It took 47 minutes of, cleanup there to get all that blood out of the way. There had to been blood spatter on the walls. I mean, and they didn't see anything except what was on his hand and a small smear of blood on the kitchen faucet. And then they only noticed the blood pooled below him when they moved the body. So there was a lot of frantic cleaning up going on in there for those 47 minutes. And of course, the jurors could see Lori's demeanor standing outside when she came back to the house. They played the audio of her talking to the police officer when he said, "How long have you lived here?" I think she says about a month. And it's like, "Hello, neighbors." And she starts giggling. They're going to look at that and go, that does not mesh with a story of self-defense, that she could be so unemotional. She keeps calling him her husband, my husband, my husband. If, wouldn't you show a little emotion with Charles, even if you admit maybe you were having trouble in your marriage? She just had zero emotion for the fact that there's a man lying dead, her husband, on the floor of her house. No upset whatsoever. So I think the jurors are going to see that, and I think they're just going to be like, look, this lady's like crazy based on, the things she was talking about, the Nephi and all of those things. Talking about in her text messages, of course, she doesn't really admit to any of the zombie stuff. Hi, Justice Mama. Thank you guys for showing up. I just thought I'd go on here as we wait for the verdict. I probably won't stay on long because, to be honest, I got up at 2 a.m. this morning and I'm like so tired. I don't know that I've ever been this tired. And it's not just because of this trial. I've been running around with the hospital last week. Oh, you love my videos. Thank you. You're going to make me cry. I'm feeling emotional. Like this was emotional for me to be in that courtroom today, to see Kay. She looked like she was going to cry a couple of times. And of course, she doesn't look at the pictures when Charles' body is shown. And, I was thinking about that. Like, if that was my loved one, if that was my dad or somebody, God forbid, I could not look at that either. Can you imagine? It would be so devastating to see your loved one unable to save themselves and hurt so profoundly by other people like that. Because Charles was such a strong man. You can just see he was in great shape. He must have gotten blasted. I'm sorry, I'm not being delicate, but I don't think he had a whole lot of time when he got in there. Hi, Matt. Is it Thibaudot? Is that how you pronounce your name, like the French way, Thibaudot? Sixth Sense Amelia, hello. So nice to see you. I'm being wimpy. I'm not putting my picture out. I look like terrible. I'm so tired. I got dark circles. I tried to talk to everybody today. So I spoke to Nate Eaton. I was in the elevator with him and I was asking him advice on how to grow my channel, and he was so nice. And I spoke to somebody from Court TV, a blonde attorney, and I don't know her name. I've seen her on there. She was so nice. She told me that she would say hi to Vinnie Politan for me. She was asking me questions about what I thought, if I thought the jurors, what they're thinking, which way they're going to go. Who else did I talk to? Again, there was a neighbor of Lori's who lived with her for 10 years next to her. And so I gave her my information, and I'm hoping that I could get an interview with her if she's willing. I think that would be really interesting, even now after the fact. Who else did I talk to? I did not get to speak with Lauren of Hidden True Crime. She's was very much in work mode. I think she's probably really tired. She told somebody that she spoke to that all this travel for all these trials is really rough on her because she has a 7-year-old and it's so hard to be away. So it's really, she never makes it look like it's taking any kind of a toll. I did not see Laura Lawyer Lee. Was she there? I didn't see her. Um, I'm trying to think if there was anybody else. There was another podcaster named Joe Schmo, Schmoe. Oh, I got a super sticker. Oh, thank you. Thank you, CPs. I appreciate that so much. Thank you, thank you. I tried to talk to everybody. I was trying to, I was asking advice. How do I grow my channel? Nate Eaton told me find a crime that's really cool, really unique, and focus on that. And I think what he's saying is like become the expert in that one that you think's going to blow up. Sort of like Hidden True Crime did with this case. They were the first ones, I think, to get a hold of people in Chad Daybell's group and talk to them. Let me look through my notes here and see. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Let me see here. Yeah, Lori this morning was really like upset about asking about 21 minutes of audio that was shared from her interview with the police right after the crime, I think around 9:57 a.m. And apparently that entire video of the whole interview was entered into evidence. And she was really stuck on the idea that it was entered, but that the jurors didn't see it. The state took out what they wanted to share, and they couldn't really share all of it because I think, well, wait a minute. No, they could have shared all of it because who was dead at that point? It's like hard to like think like who's dead. Anybody who was, oh, you know what? They can't really show anything about Tylee. They could only show Lori's because anybody who's dead, they can't share anything they said because now it's hearsay. Is that crazy? If you got murdered and you were a witness, whatever you said in your interview before you got murdered, like Tylee's interview with the police after Charles was killed, that can't be entered into evidence because it's considered hearsay. Yeah, she almost did. Yep. I don't know. One thing that everybody has in common is everybody can't stand her. Everybody in the gallery, everybody other than those jurors, we don't know what they think. Obviously, nobody likes her. Everybody thinks she's evil. One lady said that she locked eyes with Lori and she felt the evil. And I was trying so hard to like catch her looking, toward me. I was trying so hard, but I did not get the eye to eye contact that I wanted. I just wanted to know, do you actually feel evil off of somebody? Or is she really, I just think her eyes, if you get up close to her, they must be dead because you cannot engage in what she did and, have her children end up in Chad Daybell's yard. I have seen Colby's channel. I have listened to him and I saw him today. So he was there. He's really tall. He's really handsome, I gotta say. His wife was with him. She's really beautiful. She has like reddish hair now. I think it used to be blonde. And Colby was looking straight at his mother's back, trying to get her attention. He was leaning forward. He looked emotionally, not like he was going to cry, but frustrated. Like he wanted her to see him. Yeah, he's really handsome. He wanted her, I think he wants her to look at him and be like, you know the truth, Mom. You know. And I know that you know. I think he was frustrated. He doesn't like her saying anything about Tylee. And I think he feels the same way about Charles too, because he knows what happened. And I think now he probably has some guilt because Lori said, don't talk to Charles. So everybody other than Adam wasn't talking to Charles. So I'm sure, I sort of wonder if Colby has some survivor's guilt. There has to be an element of that, like, and maybe him kicking himself saying, why didn't I see this? Why didn't I notice things? Maybe. I know he's suffering. His channel is Colby Ryan something. If somebody knows, please pop it in there because if you Google Kobe Ryan, it will pop up. You'll see his face, so you'll know which one. It's right there. It comes right up, and he's been going on there and sharing some really good stuff. I think the Silver Linings guys are interesting too. Um, Now, Charles or Joe Ryan's sister, Annie Cushing, believes that Adam Colby, maybe, and this isn't to diss on anybody, this is speculation, but she feels like more people in the Cox family know what happened to Joe Ryan. And she said that Kay Woodcock said to her, I know they killed your brother. But she was looking for JJ at the time when she said that to Annie. And she said, I can't talk about that now. I've got to find, my little guy. I got to find JJ. It was during her search for JJ, but apparently, according to Annie, Kay Woodcock, Charles' sister, said, I know they killed your brother, Joe Ryan. So I'm hoping after Lori's found guilty of this crime, I hope, and also Brandon Boudreaux's, I really hope that they reopen the investigation. It would be like the third time, I think. And I really hope that they take a good look at Joe Ryan's death, although I don't know. Oh, internet glitched. Oh, really? Is this not a good connection for me? I have no technical skills right now when it comes to lives because I have so little experience. I've been so afraid to do them. I get so nervous. The first live I ever did, I had a big glass of wine with me. I was out of my mind with nerves. It was insane. If you would have seen me, you would have been like, oh my God, she's sweating over there and she's got a huge glass of wine. Oh, good. It sounds good. Okay, yeah, it'll be very interesting. You'll enjoy Colby. I mean, I really feel like he really sees his mother clearly, and I think he's really in tune with his feelings, and he's really good at expressing them. And oh, you were there for that? It turned out okay because I was really like well prepared for the interview, I think. Although I think I cut it too short. I probably could have kept going, but I was on track at least. I had the right questions. Yes, Colby really is. He's lovely in every way. And he was sitting right next to Kay, and he looked over at her. I felt like he was really like wanting to sort of support her too. And Kay always has and I can't remember the term for this, but she has somebody with her to help her through this. A victim advocate. That's the name. She always has her victim advocate with her. And she's been avoiding the spectators. I guess for this trial, she was just like, I really don't want to talk to people for this one. So like I kept wanting to like at least say hello and tell her how well she did on the stand and everything. And, she was the brave one. Lori was shaking when she had to speak and confront Kay, because I know that Lori knows that Kay knows what she did. So I think she was nervous about that. Let me take a sip of soda here. Yes, he is, and he has suffered so much. Think about what he's lost. He's lost his siblings. He lost his mom. The mom he knew, he says she's not in that body anymore. He doesn't see the mom in hers. He refers to her as Lori, and she's like another person. And Adam said that too, like, that's not the Lori that we used to know. He didn't see her in there. And Annie Cushing said that she thinks the reason Adam could not say when he had last seen Lori and talked to her, if you saw him on the stand, she kept trying to say, when did we last see each other? And he's like, I don't know. I don't know. And she was saying, you don't remember being at my house? You don't remember my green chili chicken enchiladas, And he's like, no, I don't. Annie thinks that maybe Adam was trying to be a little bit, he might know something about Joe Ryan. And because Joe Ryan died in 2018, it wasn't that long ago when all that happened. And Lori got his life insurance, which was $64,000 some dollars. So she had a reason to want Joe Ryan dead too. She hated him, number one, and apparently he did have an explosive temper, but of course, that's no reason to murder somebody. But he did have life insurance. And so she did get that life insurance. And there's some strange details in the photos of where his body was found. Annie Cushing talks about that. She has a YouTube channel too, and it's called A Murderous Heart. You guys are going to go to all these other channels and you're going to forget about me now, but I want you to know about them. Oh, you like Megan Connors? Yeah, I haven't really been listening. Yeah, she's been in court every day as far as I know. She was there. Rex Connor was there today with his two daughters. Saw him. He brought some books. He's written a book, so people were buying his book and getting it signed. He seems kind of charismatic himself. I think there is some charisma in the Cox and the Connor family. I also think there's some madness running through there because we've got Alex Cox, of course. I don't know if he was cuckoo before his accident, but he certainly was after, and he was very gullible. And Lori knew exactly how to manipulate him to be the one doing the dirty deeds, promising him this great mission and this role and everything, and he bought into the whole thing. Annie Cushing also thinks, by the way, that Alex's death was not natural. Yes, they say it was due to blood clots in the lungs, I believe, but there is something to do with the malachite. Remember the malachite wedding rings that Lori got off Amazon using Charles Vallow's credit card for her and Chad? Well, apparently there's something to do with malachite that it can be a poison. And there's a possibility that somehow that poison found its way to Alex. And either he did it to himself deliberately because he knew, what was going to be happening. Because I believe it was announced that Tammy Daybell's body was going to be exhumed the day before he died. And Annie also thought it could be a possibility that Lori promised money to different people, including Zulema. So maybe Zulema, maybe allegedly, pure speculation, okay? Maybe she somehow gave something to Alex without his knowledge, and that's how he ended up dead. So, I mean, there's all sorts of possibilities here. But I think the Joe Ryan, that's a story I think I want to dig in on because I'd love to see if he was murdered, I'd love to see him get justice, and I'd like to see Annie get her brother justice because it must be so hard to live with that, and she's in a difficult position because she looks at all the facts and she puts things together. And sometimes they don't shed a positive light, because she feels like Adam Cox probably knows more than he's had to say, that Colby may even know some things. But to me, uh-oh, what happened? Are you guys still there? Can you hear me? That was crazy. Let me see here. Do you guys have any questions? I've been talking and going on and on. Thank you to my members here. I'm seeing the green and it's like so exciting. I'm so happy to bring you alive. Um, Tylee got the life insurance from Joe Ryan. Um, no, Lori took it over. Tylee got Social Security from Joe Ryan's death. She got about $1,900 a month from Social Security after he died. And it sounds like it was put into a bank account that Tylee had access to. And but before, like at the Yellowstone, the last photo of, oh, thank you, Annette. I need to like pay attention here. I'm like not really I'm sorry, guys. I'm not that good at this. I'm just new to lives, and I'm tired. I'm not in my best form. Tylee got $1,900 in Social Security. It sounds like it was going into her own account. It sounds like she gave money to Colby on a rather frequent basis. She was generous with the money. And then Colby texted her to get money during the Yellowstone trip, I believe, and she said, "I'm not getting it anymore, mom took that over." So Lori had it redirected to her account. So I don't think the $64,000 in life insurance was put anywhere for Tylee. I think Lori took it. It went to Lori, and Annie did say she got a certain percent. She got a little bit of money from that life insurance as well. I'll find my groove. I hope so. 'Cause yeah, this is fun though. I've been wanting to do lives, but I always feel like I have to have somebody to interview. The thought of being alone was just terrifying to me, but I really want to learn how to do a live and present a case so that you guys can see the case and I can share my screen and do all of that. So I'm going to be figuring that out soon. I'm like slow about everything, learning everything. Yeah, poor Tylee and JJ. I'm telling you, I'm probably gonna weep tonight because this has been so emotional. And just seeing Charles deceased on the floor, I just about lost it when that photo nobody they don't say we're about to put a photo up that you guys there's no trigger warning. They put it up and you're like, "Oh my God, I wasn't expecting it." Oh, the jury has gone home, so they are deliberating longer. Okay. I think they probably fed them something in the jury room that they were sent to. I did see the alternates outside, headed home, and one of them was a guy with gray hair who was taking notes, and a lot of us had said, you know, he's probably gonna be the jury foreman, but then he was one of the alternates that they sent home. Hi, Celia. Oh, thank you. They also sent home a female, and we only had 2 females on the entire jury, and one of them got sent home. So now it's almost there's 1 female and all the rest are guys. But I think that they can see through Lori, and I think that they're smarter than maybe we give them credit for. And even if they weren't taking notes, I think the reason some of them weren't taking notes is because they already had their minds up. But maybe I'm being positive. I don't know. Yes, this we can only have a guilty verdict, or this just it can't happen any other way. I mean, for God's sakes, like Kay Woodcock, please, her and Jerry Vallow, and there's a Bobby Vallow as well. I mean, he had a lot of siblings, and they've got to get justice. I mean, we can't live with this if that doesn't happen. If she snowed these people, but all she has to do is snow one of them, right? So if there's one person who doesn't believe anything and thinks it's all, but I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I see them finding her guilty, but obviously they're having some discussions because they were in there from about 3:15 p.m. and it's now 5:19 p.m. in Arizona. So they were in there talking about something. So I was really hoping that they'd be like, okay, we're all guilty, 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 go around the room. What do you think? What do you think? And then they'd be like, okay, let's talk though a little because we can't just say guilty right out of the gate. We've got to like give it a little time. But, maybe they watched Lori's entire interview and maybe they all still think she's guilty, but maybe it took time to go through that interview. And maybe they said, you know what, we're tired. Why don't we let this sink in? Let's come back tomorrow. And, or are they coming? My mind, it's Monday, right? Oh, God. Maybe that's what they decided to do. I'm going to remain positive and think that they can see through her. I really hope so. I'm not going to go through all the evidence today right now because I'm really tired. But I don't know if you've all been watching 100% guilty. Yep, no doubt about it. This is one case where there's no question, everybody knows. except for the jurors maybe. Um, but I'm sure a bunch of them know too, because there's so many things that they had to have gone, "Wait a minute, what? She didn't call 911. She's buying, shoes, the flip-flops, and if you look at her walking into Walgreens, she's got shoes on. She had shoes on her feet. So she must have dumped those in a dumpster somewhere and put on the clean flip-flops. I think she had blood on her shoes. And I think the baseball bat was a prop. It was placed there because Charles Vallow was strong and he was a semi-pro baseball player back in the day. Yes, excellent. I thought it was excellent. She hit all the things in the juror instructions. She sort of broke those down, very much, very well organized, I felt. Talking about the motive, the money, the marriage, um, using the religion to find, twisting the religion to try to come up with an excuse to kill people to get the life and the lifestyle they want. Yeah, the jurors are going to freak out when they start to see. Yeah, no, not one tear today, not even a sad voice. She didn't even try to fake it today and try to look emotional. I couldn't see her face. All I saw was her back, but I didn't hear any tears. I mean, I didn't hear any like of the fake crying like she tried to do when she talked about her dear daughter Tylee and JJ. Yes, I think they're really actually taking it more seriously than we thought, but they never gave much away in terms of their facial expressions. I was really trying to do like a triangle. I was looking at the jurors and then I'd flip over to try to keep an eye on Lori just to see if she'd turn around. Then I was kind of scanning to see what Kay was doing and what Colby was doing. And then of course there's evidence up on screens, and that was very powerful, the way the prosecution took snippets of different witnesses, the key things that they said, and all of a sudden you'd hear that. That was really powerful. I was extremely impressed. Um, Lori's was a joke. It wasn't very long and it wasn't very convincing. Um, there were some moments that I saw Lori doing a good job, in my opinion, like when she was cross-examining Detective Duncan. She made him nervous on the stand, I think, because the Chandler police did not do a good job on this at all. Neither did the Gilbert police. So I think they were nervous because they're like, yeah, why didn't we take Alex's phone? Why didn't we take Lori's phone? This victim had two shots to his chest, one in his chest and one in his stomach. That's not self-defense. Once the guy's been shot through the heart, he's not getting up to pose a threat, and then you stick another bullet. I mean, that is not self-defense. So I'm hoping that'll be powerful too for the jurors to see that, self-defense did not require Alex coming out with a gun and shooting Charles twice. So, yeah. No, yeah, nobody's defending Lori, none of her family members, nobody. Nobody showed up in the courtroom to support her. Kobe wasn't there supporting his mom, obviously. He was there trying to like let her know, I see through you, lady. I know what you did. I know what you did to my siblings, and I know what you did to Charles. You lied to me about him. And Charles might have been the best dad that Colby ever had, because he didn't know his own father. His own father wasn't around for him. Joe Ryan did not officially adopt Colby, but Lori changed Colby's last name to Ryan. So, but I think Charles was probably the best dad to Colby, and Colby didn't really know it all until after the fact. And she's such a master manipulator. I think she could get everybody to believe her in some ways. Not necessarily, I hope not the jurors, but and also, by the way, her mother, Janice, her sister, Summer, her niece, Melanie Boudreau, now Pulowski, all of them were going along with this whole thing. And they were all keeping Lori abreast of what Adam was doing that day. They were, making sure she was informed of all their movements. So I can't help saying that I feel like there's some blood on the hands of Janice Summer, it's probably not gonna be popular to say that, but they knew stuff, and Summer even, texted something like, "I'll kill him myself if he's doing that." That's not good. She might have been really aware of what Lori was gonna do. I don't know, maybe I don't know, but I think the women in the family were buying into all the BS. So, all right, well, I'm going to end it there unless you guys have some questions that you want. And then let me know right now, do you want me to do a video about the way this was laid out today? Or did you watch the trial? You've already seen it. You don't need a recap. Um, yeah, they didn't stop her and they could have. And so then you have to think how many people died because of this lady and because they didn't stop, you know? Yeah. I mean, there should be a crime. There should be a charge for that, really. It was my pleasure to go today. I was thrilled that it was there, that I could go to it. If there's a trial in my city, I'm gonna go if it's one that we're interested in for sure. Thank you all for coming here. Yes, sheer, pure evil, ice cold heart. That lady doesn't feel anything. And she knows what she did. I don't care how much she comes up with these lies and, whatever. She's not so cuckoo. She doesn't know. What's good for me? I think I do need a little bit of rest. I've never been so tired. And I think part of it's because my dad was in the hospital. I never got a chance to sort of catch up. And then Easter was yesterday, and I was in charge of the festivities. So I'm like in there making Easter dinner and everything. So I'm tired. Yes. Thank you, Annette. Yes. Please like this video. Please share it. Please subscribe. I'm losing my voice here. I'm like, thank you again for showing up. And yeah, thank you for your prayers as well. My dad he's got a zest for life. He does not want to give up. It's really hard. And my brother's in hospice, so I saw him yesterday and he's not doing well either. I wouldn't be surprised if my brother passed away before my dad, honestly. And it's really killing me. It's really, really hard. I think this channel is a way for me to absorb myself in something other than that, because that's really sad. So this is sort of an outlet, a place for me to go and not think about all that stuff. So, well, thank you guys. I appreciate you all so, so very much. And I'll take a look at my notes and see if there's something I think that you would want to hear more for, and I'll get it together, and I will get some good sleep tonight. Thank you for the hugs. Sixth Sense Amelia, you've been around for a long time. You too, Urso, super soft, super soft. I hope I said that right. And you, CP, thank you so much for all your support. Okay, guys, I'll see you next time on Bed Crime Stories. Bye-bye.